I get this question a lot. It is how to find a technical co-founder. And honestly, I have the opposite problem. Most people that I know are technical people, and it's generally finding people who have experience in raising money, experience in product. That is where what I struggle with, but it's the opposite problem for non-technical people. They can't find people like us. So I am basically the fish in the sea, and I'm teaching you how to catch us fish. Essentially, that's what's going on. So the first thing I want to help you understand is like what exactly is a technical co-founder? Because a lot of people just like slap the title CTO, but they don't really know what it means. But there's actually a wide variety of technical co-founders. There is obviously the MVP builder, the someone who gets you up and running. Then there is like an actual person to lead an engineering team called an engineering lead or director of engineering, whatever that is. There's CTO. CTO can be like multiple things. CTO can be like literally a solo developer, or CTO can be a managing a team of teams. And then there's like long-term technical partner. But essentially, what it boils down to is how big is the product you're building. Now, I mostly speak with early stage startups, but there are people who are building enterprise solutions too. And so early stage startups, you only really need one engineer. And that pretty much most of the time is going to be your technical co-founder. Maybe one extra hire if your technical co-founder really is adamant about it. But honestly, I think that would be a red flag. I think your technical co-founder should be able to just build it out if it's a very small early stage MVP. If it's an enterprise SaaS product, if they're trying to make a competitor to Shopify or Uber or Airbnb, and they're trying to build like a massive enterprise product that handles payments, facilitates operations, handles customer service, and all of the above, then you're going to need a little bit more experience and a little bit more background in managing engineering teams. Because even if they can at least get the groundwork or framework of the early stage of the product out, eventually you're going to struggle with scaling the team. Because one problem with engineering teams is engineering team is like a machine. And with every machine, it's a system, and the system has to have certain principles or workflows or automations in place, like a project management, product decision framework, code review standards. And there has to be layers and layers and layers of essentially a workflow for you to get the most out of, let's say, 3 or 4 engineers. Because if you do not have that framework in place, you're not going to get the productivity that you're paying for. For 4 or 5 engineers, you're paying for 400 or 500K a year. You need somebody who fully understands how to get the most productivity out of that team. And this doesn't mean making that team work weekends, long hours. That's not the case. In fact, historically in engineering, overworking generally leads to burnout, and your team actually starts performing less, and then they eventually quit, which leaves you in a massive hole for like 6 months. You can look this up. It's in every case study. So you have to understand what you're looking for. For most of you who are watching, most likely you're building a very small scale MVP and you're just trying to test the idea out. But there might be like 1 or 2 of you that are trying to build an enterprise product. Please understand there is a difference between an engineering lead and a CTO. So in terms of technically specific languages, frameworks, and industry experience, I mean, like this really, honestly, at the early stage, it doesn't matter as much, but it matters later down the stage. Now, honestly, like what I would recommend most people is find someone that you genuinely like to work with and generally has a background experience, whether they use C# or Python or TypeScript. Yes, there are like I have preferences with languages. I prefer TypeScript and Python, but at the end of the day, as long as they pick an industry standard language, which the industry standard language you can literally Google most popular languages by developers, and it'll list out like the top 3 or top 4. As long as they pick one of the top 4 languages, you'll be able to find people to then scale your team. This isn't a big deal. And also, by the way, most technology is becoming agnostic. So you can actually now start using multiple languages and build things out. So this isn't really a factor. What's more important is personal fit. Aligned values, communication style, work ethic, risk tolerance. Trust me, guys, you're going to want to bring someone on that you genuinely can see yourself work with for the long haul. And this is going to be the make or break of that relationship. right? It is hard to assess or gauge exactly like whether you're going to be a personal fit or not within the first meeting. So there are ways around it, and this is something I only learned recently. But like there are ways around it as to detecting like how you would basically work. There's like a quick test run you could do, like a very short 3 or 4 week period where there's like some sort of task you guys work on together, and make it a little bit like intensive. Like obviously you don't want to, because the truth is the real personality fit and alignment comes out when shit hits the fan. Because when shit doesn't hit the fan, everything's great. Everybody's great. So that's why like there are ways around like figuring out whether you have personal fit or not, which we're gonna see later in the stage. But we're gonna move on to number 2. Define your value proposition. This is extremely important because guys, I'll be real with you. I get pitched like probably like 12 ideas a year by 12 different people. Yo, can you build this out? Yo, can you build this out? Yo, you know anyone? I get pitched 12 different fucking ideas every year, bro. This ain't even a joke. You have to define your value proposition. You have to, okay? Now, what is the value proposition? You're a non-technical founder. You're looking for a technical founder. Now, you have to understand, when building a tech company, your technical founder is probably going to be building 90 to 95% of it. Yes, you might be making product decisions, but at the end of the day, 90 to 95% of the grind is done by your technical co-founder. So imagine having to do 90 to 95% of the work, A. B, being pitched by 12 different people who have ideas and products they want to build, but they don't have any value proposition. They're just like, yo, can you build it? Yo, I can just take your idea and build it myself, bro. What are you, like, you know what I'm saying? If I'm doing 95% of the work, I can just do 100% of the work. What do I need you for? This is where your value proposition comes in. One of the most important ones is domain expertise. If you're trying to build an idea and you have absolutely no idea about the domain and industry, I'm telling you right now, that is such a massive red flag. You're going to get rejected by everybody. I honestly absolutely despise when a non-technical founder is tackling a domain they have no idea about and they're like, we're going to figure it out together. No. 90% of startups fail. And the reason 90% of the startups fail is because the people that are working in those 90% of startups don't know the industry that they're working in. They don't know what works. They don't have a background. They don't have a proven track record. You have to know and understand. And even if you haven't been in that industry, at least before you bring someone else in, spend 6 months learning about it. Spend 3 months learning about it. Do your due diligence. Learn about the industry before you ever approach someone. You shouldn't approach someone with the idea we're going to learn about this together. The technical co-founder's job is to build your vision. Your job is to have the vision. If you don't have the vision, nor the understanding and deep knowledge, and you're expecting it to figure it out together with your technical co-founder, you have no value proposition there. Second, I mean, these are like additional, like obviously user traction. If you have like users already, that's a huge green flag. If you have a very strong network, especially in the VC space, if you're well connected with a lot of VCs, because one of the things about the non-technical founder, especially the CEO, is fundraising. The CEO's job is to fundraise for the company. The technical co-founder's job is to build the company or build the tech, at least tech side of the company, which tech company is the tech. So having a strong network in VC is extremely important. Having previous startup experience is extremely important. Lastly, if you absolutely don't have any of these, at the very least, you have to have some savings or you have to be having the ability to basically provide pre-seed funding into the business. So either you have all of these or you have money. You pick which one you got. If you have both, that's great. Most people don't have both. So you have to decide which part you got. Then proof of seriousness. This is extremely important. And this is one of the things that, like, if all you have to show for is a fucking paragraph about your product, dude, trust me, like, you're gonna get rejected. If you can, there are so many no-code solutions out there at this point. You could probably not just create a prototype, you can create the whole product on these no-code solutions. But anyways, at least having like a clickable prototype or mock-up or some sort of market research document, preferably all three, to be honest, shows that you're genuinely invested into this and you are further differentiated from all the other 12 other people that are reaching out to me about ideas. So if you really want to stand out, then make sure you have something to show and not just a paragraph, something legitimate, something that's actually like pretty cool to look at. And then lastly, you should define the equity framework. Obviously, most people don't want to do 50-50 with technical co-founders because they feel they're the idea man, they feel they have the funding, they feel all sorts of that. At the end of the day, that's fine. It's pretty common. Honestly, most technical co-founders always end up having a smaller share of the company, which is fine at the end of the day. But what that means is you're gonna have to talk about equity split, vesting schedules, roles and responsibilities. And if you're gonna skimp out on equity on them, you're gonna have to pay them salary. If you do 50-50 and they ask for a salary, then that's stupid. But if you're giving them like less than 20% and you're taking 80% of the company and they're building 90 to 95% of the company, they're probably gonna expect a salary. So this is something that you're gonna have to speak with and get an understanding of what you're comfortable with, and then bring it up in conversation in early stages, because otherwise it's gonna become like a shit show, and you obviously don't want to like prolong this. This is something you should get up in writing probably early before the engagement even starts. But anyways, it's up to you guys how you want to deal with it. Okay, now that we've gotten the number 1 and 2, which is essentially like what you're looking for and what value you provide, now you're ready to actually start finding people. Okay, so where to look? There's obviously online and offline. Online, it's pretty simple. Where do technical people hang out? So obviously, like, they hang out in your r/startups, r/co-founder. You're going to be able to find some like technical entrepreneurial people that hang around there. If you exhausted that already and you're looking for more technical people, you can look up like other subreddits like r/engineering, r/software engineering, r/CS, whatever. There's like other subreddits too that you can look for it. The problem is r/startup and r/co-founder has already filtered out entrepreneurial technical founders. So somebody with the background and experience. There are a lot of technical people, but they don't have the entrepreneurial background. And that is a pretty big risk, because obviously engineers tend to get into the trap of over engineering and overbuilding and caring way too much about engineering than about the product. Where basically what you should be doing is more of a balance, but realistically for early stage MVPs, what you should focus on is the product and getting the product up and running and functional as fast as possible. Whether it has bugs, whether it has the best engineering practices, whether it's scalable to millions of users, does not matter at the beginning. It does not matter until you've launched the product. So if you start looking for like technical founders without an entrepreneurial background, you're going to fall into that trap. That's one thing to keep out for. The Y Combinator co-founder matching is genuinely one of the best tools ever. If you really, really can't find it on Reddit and on LinkedIn, absolutely sign up for Y Combinator co-founder matching and actually follow up. Sometimes people don't check that shit. So once a Y Combinator founder matching happens and you've matched with a technical person, follow up multiple times, because people are busy. So like essentially leverage this tool. This tool is really, really good to get you matched up. And I've met a lot of people who have gotten matched up through this. Then there is LinkedIn. Obviously, you can outreach to previous workers. I'm sure most of you guys have at least worked at 1 or 2 different companies in the past. Just look up the, engineering talent. Maybe you knew about a cracked engineer at one of your old workplaces. Just reach out to them. Reach out to them and message them. Be like, hey, I have this idea. I just want to like get 50 minutes and pick your brain on it. And then eventually, like at the end, pitch them like, are you interested? Don't start the call or the message like, yo, are you interested? Start the call saying you're trying to pick their brain. And then at the end, pitch it. Then offline events, there's tech meetups. So you can go to meetup.com or Eventbrite. There's university entrepreneurship clubs. I know some people have the bias that they don't want to hire a student. Trust me when I tell you this. Some of the best technical co-founders are students, because they're ruthless. They're gonna go and learn shit. They absolutely have no expenses. They still live at home with their parents, so the salary ain't even a question. Some of the best technical co-founders are students. I'm telling you. And go to Startup Accelerator Fellowship, On Deck, Founder Institute, Next, DMZ, Y Combinator. There's so many of them. Y Combinator, you actually need to get in. DMZ, I think you gotta get in, but there is some like pre-seed or early stage ones too that you don't need to get in, and you just kind of go in and you're able to link up with like technical co-founders. Antler is one of them in Canada. That's it. Like once you have like once you have your list of leads, your value proposition, what you're trying to build and what you're trying to look for, then all you need to do is start sending them messages. Hey X, I'm working on a blah. I'm a non-technical but have traction blah. I'm looking for a technical founder who's excited. Would you be open to a 15-minute call? And honestly, like I'm looking for a person. I'm wondering if you know anyone or if I could pick your brain. You can modify this message as much as you want. This is very basic. And at the end, build in public, share progress. Obviously, like start sharing progress and traction on LinkedIn. Absolutely start doing that. That will help you attract people who are also interested. That's some of the ways that I was able to hire engineers too, just like posting and sharing stuff online. Uh, Literally on LinkedIn is such an underrated tool. I understand most people don't want to post because it's like there's a negative connotation to it. But at the end of the day, if you're not leveraging the tools that are available to you, you failed as an entrepreneur. That's literally all it is. Be patient. Finding the right co-founder takes months, and you can do a lot before you find a technical co-founder. You can gain traction, get a mailing list, get a customer list. You can start like talking to VCs. There's so much stuff you can do. You can start building a prototype. You can start like actually building the full product in a no-code solution. There's so much stuff you could do while waiting to find a technical co-founder to take this to the next level. So be patient, but in the meantime, do stuff. And then plan B, I mean, obviously this is like a last resort, but there's always hiring developers and contracting agencies to help build out the MVP. And even they might be able to link you with the technical co-founder at some point in the future. So sometimes it's actually genuinely cheaper to just hire a contracting developer or agency because you're not giving up equity. Generally speaking, they're obviously they're expensive for the hourly rate, but at the end of the day, they also move faster than your average engineer. So you actually kind of end up paying less because you get more for your dollar, even though you're paying more per hour. And they help you quickly get something out. And then once it's out, once it's well battle tested and you can basically get product market fit, then you can hire a technical co-founder at a much more discounted rate because they weren't the ones who were there from the beginning. So you can always play that card. Yo, you're not really a co-founder. You're more of an engineering hire, and you can get away with paying them less or whatever. I don't know. That's unethical, ethical. It's up to you how you want to think about that. But that's always an option. Anyways, guys, if you found this useful, drop a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.